All right, today we're going to talk about something that's been a huge deal in software for a while now, serverless computing. I know, it sounds kind of like magic, but it's a very real way of thinking that's totally changing the game for how developers build their apps. So let me just start with this question. What if I told you that you could build and run an entire application without ever once having to think about a server? No provisioning, no patching, none of that. It sounds impossible, right? Well, that's the core promise of serverless, and we're going to break it all down. Okay, let's dive right in. What in the world is serverless computing? The whole idea is actually pretty simple. You, the developer, just focus on writing the code. And the cloud provider? They handle literally everything else. So, for the more formal textbook definition, serverless is a cloud model where providers like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft are dynamically managing all the servers for you. All that heavy lifting, all that infrastructure management, it's just gone. It's completely off your plate. Now, here's the funny thing, and it's something that trips people up all the time. The name serverless is, well, it's kind of misleading. Of course there are still servers. I mean, your code has to run somewhere, right? The whole point, the big secret, is that they're completely invisible to you. You don't see them, you don't manage them, you just don't have to worry about them. Okay, so this might still feel a little abstract. So let's use a really simple real-world analogy that I think makes this whole concept just click. Think about traditional computing, managing your own server, like owning a car. You gotta buy the car, get insurance, do all the maintenance, put gas in it, and even when it's just parked in your driveway doing nothing, it's still costing you money. Now serverless, that's like using a ride-sharing app. You just pull out your phone, you request a ride, and a car shows up to take you exactly where you need to go. You only pay for that one trip, and you could not care less about the car's oil changes or tire pressure. And that right there, that's the whole point. With ride-sharing, you get to focus on your destination, not on maintaining the vehicle. With serverless, you get to focus on building amazing features for your app, not on maintaining the servers. It's a complete shift in where you spend your time and energy. So you're probably wondering, how does this all actually work under the hood? Let's trace a little piece of code on its journey from a developer's laptop all the way to running in the cloud. It's really just a simple four-step dance. First, a developer uploads their code, but not as a whole application, just as a small self-contained function. Step 2, something has to trigger that function. It could be anything, a user clicking a button, someone uploading a file, you name it. Then, step 3, the cloud provider instantly, and I mean instantly, spins up just enough computing power to run that function. And finally, step 4, and this is the magic part. As soon as the job is done, everything shuts down. You only paid for the fraction of a second that code was actually running. That's it. But look, it's not a silver bullet, right? No technology is. Serverless isn't perfect for every single situation. So it's super important that we talk about the trade-offs, the good and the bad. Okay, on the plus side, the benefits are huge. We already talked about having zero server management. It also scales automatically, which is incredible. Whether one person is using your app or a million, the cloud just handles it. And it's crazy cost efficient because of that pay-per-use model. But there are drawbacks. There's this thing called a cold start, which is a tiny delay the very first time a function runs after a while. You also give up some control, and it's generally not the right tool for tasks that need to run 24/7. All right, enough of the theory. Who's actually using this stuff in the real world, and what are they doing with it? Turns out, it's pretty much everywhere you look. You've got all the big names in the game. Amazon's AWS Lambda is probably the most famous one, but you've got Microsoft's Azure Functions, Google Cloud Functions, and even newer players like Cloudflare Workers. Thousands and thousands of companies are relying on these platforms every single day. And they're using them for some seriously cool stuff. Let's take Netflix. When they upload a new movie, they use serverless functions to encode that video into all the different formats you need for your TV, your laptop, your phone. Think about that scale. It's massive. Or think about Slack. Every time you interact with a bot or an integration, chances are a serverless function is powering that in the background. It's also the backbone of so many e-commerce sites. For those little jobs that happen in a flash, like processing your payment and firing off that order confirmation email. So if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Serverless was never really about getting rid of servers. It was always about getting rid of the headaches, the complexity, and the cost of managing them yourself. Which really just leaves us with one final and, I think, pretty exciting question. This whole shift isn't just a technical thing, it's a creative one.
When you free developers from all that boring infrastructure work, when you let them focus all of their energy purely on creating, what will they build next? That's the future serverless is helping to write.